Welcome to Law Days and Lattes, the podcast where we blend the world of law and business with a warm cup of information and common sense. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan, attorney, real estate investor, and business owner. Each week, we'll be your go-to source for legal insights, business advice, and so much more. Whether you're a seasoned professional, an ambitious entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking guidance, we'll have you covered. From navigating the legal landscape to empowering you with valuable business strategies, we'll explore the legal side of life and enjoy a virtual latte along the way. So, grab your favorite latte, get comfortable, and let's dive into Law Days and Lattes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Law Days and Lattes. I'm your host, Sidney Wheelan. This podcast is sponsored by the Wheelan Law Firm of Moberly, Missouri, your go-to source for legal issues encountered by your family and your business. With the November 2024 election fast approaching, Missouri voters are gearing up to decide not only our national, state, and local leaders, but we are also deciding on 6 key ballot issues, which could significantly impact the state's legal landscape. Have you ever been in the position of going to the polls only to be surprised by the issues that were on the ballot? Or maybe you knew that there were issues on the ballot, but felt you didn't understand the issues well enough to make an informed decision? Did you ever feel that the ballot language was just so confusing that you couldn't even figure out what a yes or a no vote would mean? If so, you are certainly not alone. Today, I want to take a little bit of the mystery out of the voting process so that you are more informed and confident on your decisions as you mark that ballot. We'll dive into the constitutional amendments and propositions that will be on the ballot and talk about absentee voting in Missouri and some other important things that you should know when you head to the polls. So, let's begin with the proposed amendments. Constitutional Amendment Number 2, Legalizing Sports Betting. Missourians will vote on whether to allow sports betting online and in person. If passed, it would allow the Missouri Gaming Commission to regulate licensed sports betting, including online sports betting, gambling boats, and professional sports betting districts. A yes vote will amend the Missouri Constitution to permit licensed sport wagering, including online sports betting, gambling boats, and professional sports betting districts, and mobile licenses to sports betting operators regulated by the Missouri Gaming Commission, and restrict sports betting to individuals physically located in the state and over the age of 21. Revenue would be taxed at 10% and targeted to educational institutions. A no vote will not amend the Constitution. Proponents say that 38 other states have legalized sports betting. Legislatures say that sports betting could draw increased revenue for the state and particularly for educational programs to which portions of the revenue would be appropriated. Opponents say Amendment 2 would increase compulsive gambling with its negative consequences and that the low tax rate will not generate enough revenue to justify the human cost. They also say the proposition lacks the mechanisms necessary for state agencies to collect and deposit revenue generated. Next, Constitutional Amendment 3, Reproductive Rights. This measure could reverse the state's current abortion ban. It proposes establishing a right to reproductive health care, including abortion, up to the point of fetal viability. It also aims to prevent government interference in reproductive health decisions, including contraception and other related services. A yes vote establishes a constitutional right to make decisions about reproductive health care, including abortion and contraceptives, with any governmental interference of that right presumed invalid. It removes Missouri's ban on abortion. It allows regulation of reproductive health care to improve or maintain the health of the patient. It requires the government not to discriminate in government programs, funding, and other activities against persons providing or obtaining reproductive health care, and it allows abortion to be restricted or banned after fetal viability except to protect the life or health of a woman. A no vote will continue the statutory prohibition of abortion in Missouri. Proponents of Amendment 3 say decisions around pregnancy, abortion, contraceptives, and miscarriages are private and should be made by individuals, not the government. They also say Amendment 3 will preserve the health of individuals seeking necessary reproductive health care. Opponents of Amendment 3 support Missouri's current strict ban on abortion. Okay, moving on to Constitutional Amendment 5, the Osage River Casino. This amendment would allow for the creation of a new gambling facility on the Osage River from the Missouri River to the Bagnell Dam. Proceeds would be allocated to early childhood literacy programs. A yes vote would amend the Missouri Constitution to allow the Missouri Gaming Commission to issue an additional gambling boat license to operate an excursion gambling boat on the Osage River between the Missouri River and the Bagnell Dam. All state revenue derived from the issuance of the gambling boat license shall be appropriated to early childhood literacy programs in public institutions of elementary education. A no vote will not amend the Missouri Constitution regarding gambling boat licensure. If passed, this measure will have no impact on taxes. Proponents say that the additional gambling boat would generate funds for early childhood literacy programs in public education. They also say it would enable the Osage Nation, with its petition before the Department of the Interior, to reestablish its ancestral ties to the region and provide jobs. Opponents of Amendment 5 criticize the initial cost of the amendment and say that the tax rate and fees are too low. They say Missouri has enough casinos and that compulsive gambling has negative consequences on individuals. Next, Constitutional Amendment 6, funding law enforcement. Amendment 6 proposes increasing fees in judicial proceedings to help fund salaries and benefits for sheriffs and prosecuting attorneys. A yes vote will amend the Missouri Constitution to levy costs and fees to support salaries and benefits for current and former sheriffs, prosecuting attorneys, and circuit attorneys to ensure all Missourians have access to the courts of justice. A no vote will not amend the Missouri Constitution to levy costs and fees related to current or former sheriffs, prosecuting attorneys, and circuit attorneys. If passed, this measure will have no impact on taxes, but instead will rely on court fees. Next, Constitutional Amendment 7, prohibiting ranked choice voting. This amendment seeks to ban ranked choice voting in Missouri. If passed, it would ensure that Missouri continues with its current voting system, where voters choose one candidate per election and only U.S. citizens over 18 can vote. A yes vote will amend the Missouri Constitution to specify that only United States citizens are entitled to vote. Voters shall only have a single vote for each candidate or issue, restrict any type of ranking of candidates for a particular office, and require the person receiving the greatest number of votes at the primary election as a party candidate for an office shall be the only candidate for that party at the general election, and also require the person receiving the greatest number of votes for each office at the general election shall be declared the winner. This provision does not apply to any nonpartisan municipal election held in a city that had an ordinance in effect as of November 5th, 2024, that requires a preliminary election at which more than one candidate advances to a subsequent election. A no vote will not amend the Missouri Constitution to make any changes to how voters vote in the primary and general elections. And if passed, this measure will have no impact on taxes. Proponents say only U.S. citizens should vote in any election, and that alternative election systems would harm fair voting in Missouri and be too complicated. Opponents of Amendment 7 say that the current law already makes it illegal for non-citizens to vote, and that this is simply ballot candy to deceive voters. They say local governments should decide which election system is best, and this initiative takes away that local election control. And lastly, we have Proposition A, a minimum wage increase. Proposition A aims to raise the state minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2026 and mandate 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 30 hours worked. A yes vote will amend the Missouri statutes to increase the state minimum wage beginning on January 1st, 2025 to $13.75 per hour and increase the hourly rate $1.25 to a total of $15 per hour beginning January 2026. Annually, the minimum wage will be adjusted based on the Consumer Price Index. The law will require employers with 15 or more employees to provide 1 hour of sick pay leave for every 30 hours worked. The amendment will exempt governmental entities, political subdivisions, school districts, and education institutions from the minimum wage increase. A no vote will not amend Missouri law to make changes to the state minimum wage law. If passed, this measure will have no impact on taxes. Proponents say workers need higher wages and paid sick days to support themselves and their families. In addition, they say the gradual increase over 3 years is feasible for employers. Opponents say businesses will have difficulty meeting these increases and will pass increased costs to consumers. That wraps up today's breakdown of the November ballot issues. Let's talk just a bit about absentee ballots. Voters can request absentee ballots from their local election authority. Usually, this is the county clerk's office at the courthouse. You may do so in person, by mail, by fax, or by email. Relatives, including spouses, parents, and children, may complete an absentee ballot application in person on behalf of a voter who wishes to vote absentee. When you do not send the absentee ballot applications to the Secretary of State's office. The absentee ballot applications must be sent to the appropriate local election authority by the deadline in order to be valid. This is very important. When voting an absentee ballot in person, or for voters requesting an absentee ballot by mail who have registered by mail and have not voted in person, they are required to submit a copy of their personal identification unless they provided a copy with their registration application. Examples of acceptable identification are as follows: a non-expired Missouri driver or non-driver license, a non-expired military ID, including a veteran's ID card, a non-expired U.S. passport, or another photo ID issued by the United States or the state of Missouri, which is either not expired or it expired after the date of the most recent general election. Now, remember, there is a 2-week no-excuse absentee voting window beginning October 22nd, so I encourage everyone to take advantage of that if you feel that you might not be available on Election Day. Remember, Tuesday, November 5th is Election Day. The polls open at 6 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Be sure to make a voting plan for yourself and encourage your friends and family to do so as well. Offer to take them to the polls if necessary, and of course, do not forget to cast your vote. And just one more reminder, if you are voting for a write-in candidate, remember to blacken the oval and write in the candidate's name. So in closing, I want to thank you for tuning in to Law Days and Lattes. Be sure to subscribe and don't forget to share this episode with any fellow business owners or family members who need to hear this message. And please check out our new Law Days and Lattes podcast pages on Facebook and Instagram. Our goal is to create a space where we can learn from each other and grow together. So we want to hear from you. Share your thoughts and ask questions. We will put all of the links in our show notes. I'm Sidney Wheelan, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay informed and make sure your vote reflects your stance on these important matters. As always, my friends, grab your favorite latte, Hold your loved ones tight and have a great week.